Welcome back to Ball Up Top, where we've never met a challenge we didn't like. Word to Cheryl Reeve. It's basketball season. Happy women's college season to all who observe. Happy Scorpio season to all who enhance. I got my Scorpio brother here, Andrew.
Scorpio hour here, Shawnee.
Let's get it. It's the best month of the year, best time of the year, the best people of the year. So we're going to get into it because it's college season. But before we do that, we got to tell y'all what we always tell y'all. Go get your merch. Go get your merch. No Cat 15% off your first purchase. It's college season. So if you're actually getting it now, you're a little late, which is fine. Better late than never. But remember, you can't get in on the hate if you don't have some merch repping who you protecting. So,
and home field knows. Home field knows better than anybody.
They got some jackets coming out.
I saw that main jacket.
The Georgia jacket was cold. The Indiana jacket was cold. They said it has 66 schools, so I will be perusing. You will see me in some of the finest merch I can get my hands on from home field. Again, if you're in Bloomington, Indiana, just, in the neighborhood, poke your head in. Tell them we sent you. But let's get to it. We've got 4 conferences filled with teams all trying to win a championship. And then you have UConn in whatever conference they're in. That's a thing also, I guess. We're 1-2 days into the season already. So let's get some hot takes off. Some stuff that we can revisit later and really sink our teeth in. Let's start with your favorite conference, the SEC. Does it just mean more this year? Is the SEC still that girl when it comes to conferences?
I don't know if there's a definite title team in this group this year. I do think that South Carolina might be a little down with the injuries to Chloe Kitts, as well as Ashlyn Watkins sitting out for the year. They're still going to be good because Dawn Staley's still a great coach. But if I had to really lean on a hot take, my hot take is this. If LSU makes a Final Four this year, they're winning the whole thing. And there are numbers to back this up. Yes, I am so dead ass. There are numbers to back this up. Kim Mulkey has proven over the course of her career she's either a do it all or don't do it at all. So she has not lost a Final Four game since 2010. And she has been to the Final Four 5 times in her career. She has won a national championship 4 out of the 5 times she's been to a Final Four. Every other time, if you look at her career, they get bounced in the Elite 8, they get bounced in the Sweet 16, they maybe get upset in the second round. But when they make the Final Four, 4 out of 5 times they win the whole championship. And while it was Houston Christian, I came away very impressed with their freshman, Zakiya Johnson, who's got big Anissa Morrow shades to her already. 11-11, and just the rebounding and energy and activity was insanely impressive. Mylasia Fulwiley, 21.7 steals. And then the big question is going to be whether or not Kate Koval is enough of a center and can be like a LaDasia Williams type for them if you let Zakiya Johnson kind of be the Angel or Anissa in that 4, and then your backcourt is that good. But I feel like if LSU is able to make a deep enough run to the semifinals, the history shows us that Kim Mulkey doesn't do shit halfway. So they're either going to get bounced before or they're going to win the whole damn thing. And I think we need to give flack to Kim's scheduling because every year it's awful. And so and this is the hard thing, right? We don't get the opportunity until January to really assess whether or not this team has any legit championship bona fides. We're going to find out in December when they play Duke, but she sees Southeast Louisiana, who, mind you, was a conference champion last year.
I said this last night. Southeast Louisiana gives them fits. year in and year, like they be hooping and pushing them to their limit. So don't sleep on SC Louisiana.
I well, that's the thing is I can't remember if they lost their coach last year. They did. Ayla Gazzardo ended up going to McNeese, which I thought was kind of wild. So I'm interested to see if Jeff Dow is the guy at Southeast Louisiana. Because Ayla Gazzardo was an incredible coach and honestly an up and coming coach that I still think if she succeeds at McNeese, she's going to get a high major job sooner rather than later.
Mm.
But LSU, I mean, I really like LSU just kind of as a team and makeup. I knew Zakiya Johnson was good. I didn't know she would be the kind of rebounding specialist that they needed. So out of the SEC, man, I think it's them. I think it's South Carolina because you can never discount Dawn Staley. Like, you can never discount the coaching job she does. Like, if we're going to keep it a buck, that team had no business being in the final last year. And a lot of that was Dawn just coached the hell out of that team all the way through March. So it stands to reason that with the talent she has and with Adele and Agot McKeer and Tanaya Latson, I don't know. It feels like they have it in them to be good. And I walked away, although it was a massively rebuilding Grand Canyon team. I did walk away actually pretty impressed with the fact that Raven Johnson has put the effort in. If it's not going to be the scoring, it's going to be something else. And ends up with an 11-8-7 performance. If you get that out of her all the way through, and we're looking at a player that can kind of flirt with triple doubles in that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good enough player and a player in Tanaya Latson that can score. So I think we're going to get more of the same here. Texas is the other team that I still want to wait and see, but I also have to see with my own eyes. The same way I got to see it with Kim Mulkey and LSU, too, to be clear. I got to see Kim Mulkey and Vic Schaefer beat Dawn Staley in the regular season before I believe in either of them as a championship team, because they have both of them have a Dawn Staley problem. Vic's had a Dawn Staley problem since Mississippi State. So, like, we're still kind of in the same boat here. It just is going to depend on how much talent there actually is with this team. I'm not buying it on Oklahoma just because that defense isn't good enough. And it's it's going to be fun. I mean, I think Oklahoma and Tennessee are like, this is such a deep pull too. They're like the 80s Long Beach State teams that are like, can they make a Final Four because they know how to run the floor? Absolutely. But can running
history with that Long Beach team.
I know,
correct?
legendarium.
Hey.
Legendarium.
Hey.
But it's true. Like, Pace, like Mike Neighbors when he went to the Final Four with Kelsey Plum. Like, Pace teams can get you there, but can they win you a championship is an entirely different question. And all it takes is one turnover, one bad shot like Tennessee and NC State, where it's the difference between winning and losing. If you don't have the ability to get a stop on the other end of the ball, then you're going to lose the game. So I don't know. My hottest take is LSU here. I think LSU.
Right, so wait, backing up, because my question was the SEC. Does it mean more? So you're gauging the strongest conference based on how many championship contenders they have, correct?
I think that's the standard for your power too. I think for the Big Ten and the SEC, they have 18 teams apiece. Like, I think when you have that much depth, I don't put stock into how many tournament teams you have, because like a 19-14 Big Ten team is going to be on the bubble this year, or a 19-14 SEC team is going to be on the bubble this year. So like, UConn is kind of a unique situation in its own realm, but I'm judging the ACC and Big 12 on a totally different standard than the Big Ten and the SEC, if that makes sense.
That's interesting, because I'm kind of like, who's got the strongest conference from top to bottom? Like, the Big Ten might not have that many championship contenders in and of itself, but it's like they've got some teams that can sneak up on you, like at that bottom half, right? So like bottom half of the SEC is going to be like what? Missouri. So like Kelly Harper's not sneaking up on anybody. I'm sorry if that upsets people, but it's not happening. Not this year, at least. But like,
that sounds like Sarah will sneak up on some people.
Well, we're seeing it reincarnated. You can kill a woman, but not her idea. But so I'm looking at like the Big Ten at that bottom. It's gonna be a bloodbath because you're gonna have like your bottom cellar dwellers. But then, like, right up there in that middle pack, we're like Penn State. What's Rutgers gonna do? What's like what are all Illinois? Like what's going on with all of those teams where they're like not consistent enough for you to be like, oh, they could make a deep run, but like they could play spoiler to somebody and really like mess up somebody's season in a way in terms of that seeding. So that's where I'm kind of like the Big Ten. Like from yes, it is 1,000,001 teams in there, so it's going to be a gauntlet just like in and of itself. But it is kind of like it's walking across glass in the Big Ten. I'm not going to hold you. Like it's not a whole lot of nights off, even with those million teams. SEC. My hot take with that is I believe in Tennessee more than LSU,
Ooh,
and I might change this. Don't write it in pen. Don't put it on the whiteboard. Like LSU, because of the scheduling, I always have questions up until conference play. And then they run through conference play, and I'm like, okay. So LSU, I'm not particularly moved in the sense of they could, they don't have dominant bigs to me matter. Having solid bigs matter. So, I mean, I'll see how the bigs develop, see what they can do, see what they can contribute, see if they can steady it. Because you have a lot of guards where it's like, if the guards are having an off night, you're cooked. So, and then Moki still got her chemistry. She still got, that type of thing to work through. And that's what the non-con's for. That's why she schedules so soft. And she said that before. So I'll give that to her. But like watching what I saw from Tennessee, I like it. I feel like they could sneak up on somebody in a major way. Ole Miss is always going to be one of those teams that could sneak up on you if you're not careful. So, you have your South Carolina, your LSU, your Tennessee, your Ole Miss, and then that's going to be like your SEC pretty much. Vanderbilt's going to compete with people. And then we kind of get into the doldrums of the up and coming. So I'll say like the Big Ten has a harder gauntlet from start to finish. But like, the heavy hitters are still in the SEC, ACC. It's, we talked about this on live last night. It's kind of pretty open. So, good luck and God bless to them. UConn,
let me ask you this.
stop playing, getting a real confidence.
Let me ask you this, because I feel like you, as our resident like South Carolina person, Dawn for years, I think, has had better teams than a lot of the SEC, is a better coach than most people in the SEC. And I think like the aura of South Carolina, like it was very SEC football coded. Like it was very Nick Saban, like peak of Kirby Smart coded, where I think teams psych themselves out. It's like going up and seeing Tiger in the red polo on day 4 on Sunday, right? Like there is an aura to Dawn and an aura to SC that I think teams have gotten scared of in the past. Do you feel like that can still exist this year? Or do you think there are teams that see blood in the water a little bit, knowing that front court isn't not as deep, but at least as experienced as it would be if you had Watkins and Kidd still there?
Right. I think in terms of the media perception, like you're going to get in the presser and say, yeah, there's, but like behind closed doors, they're probably licking their chops. Cause I feel like this is the year we don't have that one player where you're like, I don't know what to do with her. Like, I truly don't know what to do with her. You know what I'm saying? Like Malaysia, you don't know what to do with her for, Aaliyah Boston, Camila Cardoso, going back to Asia, and those players where you're like, yeah, once they start turning up on us, I don't know what to do. That person hasn't emerged yet. I'll say that. I'm not going to say we don't have it, because it could be Tanaya. It might be tested. Like it could be, any number of guards we have. It could be Joyce. But as of right now, we don't have that one person where it's like, once they start cooking, cancel Christmas. So I think the aura is still there just because the brand is still strong. Because like as a unit, we're still going to put that belt on you. And it's still possible to get ran out of your own gym. So you can't really say like, oh yeah, South Carolina's vulnerable, or like, but in terms of like, yeah, you might have hope until there's no hope. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah, I can see that. And I do feel like too, this feels like the season where Dawn kind of reminds you that she's not a roster merchant. You know,
Right.
I feel like I feel like that was kind of my takeaway last year was like I'm not gonna doubt Dawn's savvy anymore in terms of being able to get more with less. I think I always had the contention that like Dawn is a very good coach, but a very good coach with very good talent, right? And when we talk about scheme, we talk about doing more with less on the floor. And I think I've had the same type of opinion on Gino, right? Is like what does Gino show us when he's not coaching a roster of players that's better than everybody else? And Gino himself would tell you, like, subtle flex, but like, Gino told your boy this, like, when we were interviewing him last year. He basically said, like, people used to say that I stacked the deck and won with the best teams, but his comment to me was like, but I would rather have the best teams and win, so like, fuck
Yeah.
trying to coach more with less. And so I think with Dawn, I don't think the smoke should ever be for her as a schematic mind without with or without the talent. But I think I'm curious how much further her coaching can take a team that is perceived to be at a talent deficit relative to what, in my opinion, is the big two teams this year, which is UConn and UCLA. And I know you guys talked about UConn a bunch last night. They look great. Sarah Strong looks great. I'm interested in what UCLA is able to do in the Big Ten this year, because that I think is the biggest. The biggest thing is if you get the experience of getting beaten up in a Final Four the way you did to UConn, there's two directions you go with that. You either kind of internalize that as a team, or you take the lesson and you beat the team the next time. So I'm interested to see in what UCLA is going to do. And to your point that you made earlier about the Big Ten, like I think Rutgers, Purdue, Northwestern are all going to be the teams that get beat up on pretty good this conference season. Washington, Ohio State, Penn State, Nebraska, Illinois, I think are all kind of in that next tier. I think
Right.
Oregon and Indiana and Minnesota are probably the tier following that. Michigan, I probably put Michigan State in that tier too, as like fringe top 25 teams. And then Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, USC in the next tier. And then I think UCLA, and maybe this is my hot take on the Big Ten, I think UCLA is kind of in a tier of their own in the Big Ten this season. I mean, that roster, man, and I know people talk about Sienna Betts and her injury and when she comes back, how much better they're going to be. I think people are sleeping on this freshman Lena Bilic, the 6'3" Eastern European that they have, who throws up like 40 spots in Eurobasket U20. I mean, she's legit. And I think she's going to catch a lot of people by surprise this year. But I guess that's my hot take. Or maybe I'm just believing in my former Pac-12 teams too much.
Yes. It's in you. Yeah, it's like you can't, but it's it makes sense when you ride for them after dark as much as you did. You can't take that away. But let's shift into something we were kind of just touching on, coaching. Who do you feel like got to stand and deliver this year? Coaches.
Ooh. Big Ten or generally?
Generally. Like, they're not on the hot seat just yet, but it's just like we're kind of we're monitoring your situation over here.
I don't think she's going to be in danger of losing a job, but I think it's a big put up or shut up time for Neil Ivey at Notre Dame. We talked to her this morning, put that out on our YouTube page. You can check that out on our channel here. And I straight up asked her, I said, do you pay attention to the noise? Because when you go to 3 Sweet 16s, but the standard is Muffet McGraw, who won titles And last year, you had a roster that was believed to be a title contender, and you get bounced in the Sweet 16 by TCU, which is by all accounts an upstart program under Mark Campbell. You lose Olivia Miles to that very program. Sonia Citron goes to the WNBA, and now you are relying on Hannah Hidalgo to be your leader and to be your number one person. And I mean, she clearly believes in Hannah. She told me that Hannah has learned what leadership effectively is over the last couple years, but she even characterized Hannah as it's high risk, high reward to let her do her thing. And I thought that was a really interesting way of phrasing it, because as a coach at this level, like, it's pretty ballsy to commit to high risk. Like, knowing that there's high reward, I get that, but committing to high risk when you have had 3 seasons in which people think you have underperformed is pretty fascinating. So I wouldn't say it's a hot seat season for her, but I think it's a show me season. I think Kara Lawson bought herself a couple of years from criticism by running to the Elite Eight, even though that style of play is just heinous.
Hey, man.
And I know y'all talked about it,
Make
but
me
like,
stop. Make
bro.
me stop.
And to give up the game to Nikki Collin too, who's on this list of like put up or shut up coaches. I think Nikki needed that one in a really big way, because I think Baylor fans got very used to owning the Big 12 under Kim, and even last year, man, like, they got to the literal last game of the season against TCU and bungled it, and then bungled it again in the conference tournament. So, Baylor's got some expectations here. And, I think those are the 3 coaches that are the most, I think, vital to me as people that I need to watch. Lindsay Gottlieb is also on this list to a degree, but Lindsay, my Scarsdale sister. So I always got to ride for Lindsay G. But I am really interested. I thought they played a really great game against New Mexico State, and I'm really interested to see what it looks like when you don't have to have Juju Watkins in what is effectively the Alyssa Thomas role. And what do you do? Can you beat the allegations of being a Juju merchant? That I think is the big thing.
Okay, so I'm gonna disagree with Niel and Lindsay G. I feel like they're in those tiers where it's like not built-in excuses, but like this is clearly a year in which you don't have the big dogs. So I feel like last year for Niel was the put-up year, and she didn't. So now I'm kind of like, if nobody made any noise then, I don't see a point in making noise now, because like you have a lesser team now than you did then. And before then, you know what I'm saying? So those were, to me, the put up years. So I feel like coast is clear for her. Lindsay G, again, like, you had it. The put up year to me was when you had Kiki and Juju, and all of that going on. That was the put up year, and then we didn't. And then on top of that, you see, like, your former players go to the next level and see what they're able to do after leaving that system. So to me, like, I feel like they're safe. Like, if that was the time, if that didn't happen, then it's not gonna happen for me. I feel like Corey Close is in that not danger zone, but it is kind of like
a narrative danger zone. It's like the slant. She's in the slander zone.
Yes. Like, you've been in the public eye for a couple years. Like, we gave you the credit for bringing UCLA back to code. The USC UCLA rivalry is alive and well. Okay, now what? You know what I'm saying? You made a deep run Final Four last year, great. But then we see what happens in the Final Four. You have a potential number 1 pick in Lauren Betts. She looks great so far. Like, I've seen the workout tapes. I'm convinced, that there has been steps taken to make that next leap. We need to see it. And then we need to see the results of that leap. Sienna, she gonna cook. So, you've got the horsepower. What are you gonna do with it? So to me, she's in that seat. I think it's time for kind of Coach Yo to be in that area. Like, you're no longer the plucky, oh my gosh, look at what you can do. Like, no, you've got a stable program right now. You
Yep.
have taken Ole Miss, put them into prominence to where we're talking about you in the SEC, even if it's not like an outright contender. We're still talking about you being one of those top 4 teams year in and year out. What's the next step? You know,
Yeah.
we know the Stanford game. We saw it. What's the next step? So to me, you got Corey and you got Coach Yo.
Mm. Let me ask you this: do we
Mm.
think Texas A&M has just stopped caring about women's basketball? Like, did the NIL money just like disappear, and they were just like, you know what, Joni Taylor, you're on your own? Because if there's a true hot seat this year for like a coach in danger of being fired, Joni Taylor at A&M's gotta be on the top of this list. But I can't, like, given the last couple years, I feel like if they were gonna fire Joni Taylor, last year would have been the time, because this roster's not very good and they're only gonna get the shit kicked out of them even more in the SEC this year. You know, I think like her and Katie Abramson Samuelson over at Georgia is another one that, like, how committed are you to trying to rebuild these teams? Especially if you have the ability, like, say a coach like Don Thornton pops up at Alabama A&M and they go on and win the SWAC this year, right? Or you end up with, you know, Alyssa Gazzardo over at McNeese, and, you know, she pops out and is unbelievable. Like, there are good coaches coming up in the pipeline, and Joni, I think Joni, frankly, I think she should have stayed at Georgia first and foremost. But A&M, I don't know what to think about A&M, because they were really successful under Gary Blair. This is a team that's relevant, you know, historically in the last 20 years. And yet, for all the money they have, all the money they've shoveled into football and men's basketball, it feels like they've kind of just ignored women's hoops in the last couple of years.
And I feel like the women's basketball world has moved on. Like nobody cares. I like
Yeah,
when you said
exactly.
Texas A&M, I was like, "Oh shoot, they do exist." I forgot all like I haven't seen they haven't been in my conscious memory since John Marker got that clip, like stopping herself from arguing with the ref.
Mhm.
And that was like 3 teams ago. So I'm kind of like,
Oh my
they're
God, that
in
was
that
literally 3 teams ago.
yes. So I'm kind of like, and to me, it's like A&M, Baylor were in that Auburn tier, where Auburn, it was like you could very well tell like nobody cares what's going on. And you can't tell what's going on, what the plan is, what's going on. Even when they had Koulibaly, that was just kind of like, oh, we looked up on her. But like, what's the plan here? But like nobody really seemed to care. But even now Auburn has Larry Vickers. So it's like somebody cared. And now
Mhm.
I'm gonna care. And I'm gonna see, because Mimi Wheeler transfers with him too. And so it's like we're doing something. So now it's just like to me, Baylor, Texas A&M are in that territory where it's like the basketball world has forgotten about, like they've moved on. Because
Mhm.
for me, Nikki had Little Page Bug, what's her name? Asia Blackwell. Like you
Mhm.
have these big names. You had a talented roster. You should have been in conversations. You should have still been in the forefront of the women's basketball world. Like, okay, this is what's happening post Mulkey.
Yeah.
And then and I kept saying it on live, like negative motion. Like nobody is talking about Baylor anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody. Like outside of Mulkey and like what kind of political school it is, like nobody is talking about Baylor. And so I feel like you kind of forget Joni is in Texas A&M. They were kind of scrappy. What was it? Last year, year before,
Mhm.
they had, some stuff going on, but now it's just like, I don't know what the plan is. I also don't know if anybody cares what the plan is. It's just,
Yeah.
you're here.
It's weird, because I figured that when NIL started, A&M, much like they were doing in football, like I thought A&M was going to throw the money everywhere. And
She's not that type of coach, though. She's very like,
no, and that's so
I'm classy. We're going to build the right way. We're going to, like, they're not showing. She just started making TikToks. And I think it was like when Janiyah was there. So
Mhm.
it's kinda like she's not an ostentatious coach, which is something that it takes in order to have um, in order to have a successful big name program, like your coach has to be the big name. Your coach has to be at the very least the carnival barker saying, "Come see what we got here. Come, we've got this. Hey, we got what you like. Pull up on us." And she's not that type of. She doesn't have that demeanor.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's on my list, I think, for like true, like tried and true, legit hot seat. Um,
Hmm.
but like the weird thing is there's a lot of schools that I feel like just aren't there in their care of this stuff yet. Like Boston College, for instance, like BC lost to open the season to Holy Cross, and they're not going to get rid of Joanne Burnaby McNamee. Like that's not going to happen because unless you're really committed to rebuilding the program, I don't think you're gonna get much else or much better. So yeah, I think there's a couple of interesting hot seat contenders here, but I think Joni Taylor's probably got to be at the top of my list. I really feel that.
Yeah, because I mean, it's been a couple years. Like I saw Sid Colson highlights from that season.
Really, like
So
people
I'm
think
like,
like Sid Colson was a hooper at A&M. Granted, it was like
yeah.
15 years ago, but he was a hooper.
But no, that's what I was saying. Like that's the last time, and this was a couple weeks ago. They were like, "Oh, give Sid her flowers. Da, 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 she's a baller," and that's the last time I really saw like Texas A&M in prominence in a Sid Colson throwback clip. Like, I don't know, man. It's getting spooky out there. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, to be fair, with Boston College, I haven't. What sports do they care about? I thought like their best sport was Catholicism or something. Like, I haven't seen like football since Zay Flowers and like Steve Adazio. Guys
Yeah,
being
guys
dudes,
being dudes. Hell
guys
yeah.
being dudes, and then like I don't know. So it's like she's safe because it's like they don't care about sports there at all.
At all.
So good luck. God bless. I feel like Syracuse kind of lost some momentum. ACC as a whole is really that conference where it's like you got people that care, like your Dukes, your North Carolinas, your Notre Dames, and then you got stuff like that, like oh, like okay,
Pitt,
or like
Wake,
it, yeah.
BC. Yeah, like SMU is going to be interesting this year with Adia Barnes. They won their first game. Stanford is also interesting.
Gonna make it. Oh, that's gonna make it so fun. Rest in peace, Pac-12. But yes, they kind
Mhm.
of needed those two,
I'm
especially.
stoked. I'm stoked on Stanford. Like I this they got a couple of really good freshmen. Alex Eschmeyer, who's from my neck of the woods in Colorado. Laura Somfai, who is another freshman. They have like 3 or 4 players. I think their recruiting class was like number 3 in the country. But Haley Swain, Eschmeyer, Somfai are in there and really, really good. Nunu Agara is going to be really good. And as long as they find a good point guard that, whether that's Chloe Clardy or Swain, and let Talana Lapolo come off the bench, because respectfully to her, I don't think she's a point guard that can win you win you an ACC title. But I'm interested to see if like this is the bounce back that Stanford, has and needs. And I think out of the rest of the ACC, I mean, I really want. I can't believe I'm saying this because I used to give so much shit to Westmore. I'm an NC State guy
Don't do
this
it.
year. I'm rolling. I used to think Westmore was a basketball terrorist, but what I found out is Westmore is actually a basketball revolutionary, and my mind was just poisoned by propaganda all these years.
No, he's still sus.
Wait, you know what it is?
He's just got talent.
The minute this man got got a big that could move,
Oh, I
and
thought you were going to say he stopped with a bowl cut.
well, that too. I mean, that bowl cut could rival Tara Vanderveer's. Like, I mean,
Okay.
Westmore, if we're going to talk about Westmore's hair, Westmore was maybe 2 months or one bad haircut off a bob.
It was, man,
Awesome.
like,
It was
all
awesome.
right. It was
West,
like, all right, bro.
I'm trying to think about how to combine the names of Westmore and Latricia Trammell. I'm going to get it
Don't do
one of
it.
these
Don't
days. Give us what
respect
Westmore.
LT. Respect LT, dog. Come on.
Respect LP. Um, No, I think NC State's going to be the winner in the conference here. Are they a Final Four team? I don't know. I think this might be an SEC Big Ten heavy year, along with UConn there coming from the Big East. Everybody needs to watch the developments at Clemson. I am big on Sean Poppy. He was a huge part of Kenny Brooks' Virginia Tech staff. He was Kenny Brooks' number 2, and to my knowledge, was not in any group chats. And so I think he might be the dude. He just got a top 75 recruit, biggest recruit for Clemson in quite some time. They've got a couple of big matchups in the non-con coming up. They play actually at South Carolina next week. So that'll be a great test for them. But while they might not have the out front talent, I think they've got good pieces, and I think he's a good coach. So, does it mean Clemson makes the tournament this year? Maybe not, but I think like a WBIT or like fringe type of team, I think they can absolutely be there this year. So if I'm doing a hot take this year for the ACC, Clemson is going to be a surprise team for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, they building. I've seen, as a resident of South Georgia, I got to see Kobe Thornton. I got to see Destiny. What was her name? Destiny Thomas go from South Georgia to Clemson, do their thing. Love seeing the small town kids go on and make it big. So I'm excited to see. I'm not excited to see Clemson. I'm sorry. Like, I was excited to see them then when they had kids I like were interested in. But no, like he's gonna make the South Carolina Clemson game, like, it's gonna be at least interesting now. And that's something that's kind of needed, because like football, that's I don't want to say a national holiday, but that's like a big deal. So you can like carry that over to women's basketball in a state where that has become a women's basketball state. Like, that's a big deal. So I'm not glad for Clemson, but I'm acknowledging that some stuff is happening. I was looking up some stuff. No, going to HBC, because like we said, Larry Vickers out at Norfolk State, down to Auburn. So yeah, Howard already has a win, but it's like Howard's gonna be the favorite. They're the preseason favorites. Yeah, I don't really see anyone like knocking them off on that. We'll have to see what develops, but like, yeah, it was always like NSU ever since Kempton left. It was always NSU and Howard. So now NSU's kind of out of the mix. Howard's back on top. We'll monitor that situation. In the SWAC, you got UAPB, got the big win over Memphis. And I'm like, hey, check out our friends at HBCU Game Day. They had the full recap, because it was a barn burner. It was a good game. So SWAC is always one of those conferences that like they be hooping. They be balling and contending with, teams, those other mid-major in that area. Like, I've seen them give Moki a run for their money in the tournament. Word to Jackson State. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, watch out for the SWAC this year, because it's an exciting conference when they start playing against outside schools. So Howard, Miak,
Alabama A&M is the team in the SWAC that I'm watching. As I mentioned, Don Thornton, I think Don Thornton is starting to like move a little bit of motion. Like toward the end of last season, you were starting to see people like, damn, look at the Alabama A&M coach with her fits and all of this other stuff. And I think like there's little like, it's like using a kid's term here, but like use a little bit of aura farming from Don Thornton there. And like, I think to your point about like having to kind of be like a carnival barker, but in the complimentary way, like as a coach, like you kind of got to aura farm a little bit in today's world. And especially when you're coaching an HBCU, you're having to sell double. And, that's what Tamika Reed did really well at Jackson State. Like that's what Larry Vickers did well at Norfolk State in getting Diamond Johnson to come over and transfer to an HBCU. I think the next the success it's going to be dependent on the success, but given that in her first season in Huntsville, she went 21-11 and nearly won the SWAC. I am interested in I'm interested in seeing like how she does in year 2, because if there's a name we're going to start to see pop about like the next up and coming HBCU coach, I think Dawn Thornton's going to be that person when all is said and done.
Yeah, and it's like to your point that that's how you get top talent to come home, so to speak. It's like the concern is always like, am I gonna get to play on TV? Am I gonna get to, is there a chance for me to get drafted? Is there a chance for me to do any of the stuff I can do at a P4 school or another mid major? And it's like, yeah. So like when you have coaches that are able to be those kind of personalities and bring the eyeballs and bring the attention, and then you have coaches on the other side, like your Don Staley's and such, that are like willing to schedule those games and willing to have home and home series, like we can grow from that point on and really make it a competitive thing in the mid majors from top to bottom for HBCUs. But that is how it starts, unfortunately. Like you got to have that coach that's out there like, hey, I'm on the TikToks, look at me, look at my fits, look at what I'm doing. There has to, it feels a little gimmicky sometimes, but it's like it works. And we've seen it work. Just don't go full prime. Never go full prime.
Full prime. Being in Colorado, man, it's crazy because like we're in a better place than we were before Dion showed up. But now I'm of the mindset that if Dion were to dip and be like, hey, it's going to be, like it's my health, I got to step aside, I think everyone would be like, cool. Yeah. I think we're all right.
Because I bet it's quiet over there now.
It's quiet.
I bet the airport done calmed down. Like,
and you know what? Like, yeah, and you know what? I'd rather it be quiet because I know our state governor's not getting involved in the coaching search. So when it means more, it means more on both ends of the spectrum.
Yo, and on that note, I want you guys to stay tuned, like, subscribe, because you never know who we're gonna interview next. You never know what's coming next. Stay tuned. We got boots on the ground for the Allies up this weekend. You've already seen one of those teams we've talked about that's going to be in there in NC State. NC State versus USC. We just talked about Lindsey G. So if NC State pull it off, you got to slander Andrew Trice because now he believes in Westmore and Lindsey G. So it's like either way, he's cooked.
Before we go, you know who I believe in the most? I believe in Aaron Johnston's South Dakota State team who beat Creighton last night. That's who I believe. I believe in the Jackrabbits, baby. South Dakota.
I was talking about that the other day. Yeah.
I'm leaving on this hot take. South Dakota State makes the Sweet 16 this year. Brooklyn Meyer needs to be in a national discussion as one of the best players in the country, along with Natty Dugan at Richmond. Love your mid-majors and support your mid-majors.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love my HBCU and yours too. But like going back to it, like South Dakota State, the Dakotas are always those teams you don't want to see them non-con. You do not. It's a trap. You will get caught slipping. So shout out to them. Shout out to y'all. Welcome to the college season. Go get your merch so you can hop in and talk trash. Because again, that's the entry fee. You got to rep at least your op's op. That's how it goes. So use your home field code, get some fly merch, and we will catch you guys next week.